let's get into it here. So, I think I finally have a way to organize this that I like, that I enjoy. So we'll get going here. So the Galleon patch, right? The Galleon patch was not, it's not, a lot of characters weren't directly touched in this patch, but I do think the characters that were very impactful in such a way that, if like Ladiva and Vaseraga and Beelzebub and things like this, very polarizing characters, if they're going to be more prevalent in the meta, or if certain things are going to be less prevalent in the meta, or something like that, that is actually going to have ripple effects across more of the cast than you might think. And also, it's also just true that a lot of the cast got touched by that fuzzy change, right? So we'll talk here. Is nerf buffed, but it doesn't matter, a tier that could be included? I would say essentially the same, right? Like, if it's worth talking about, then they can go in minor nerfs or minor buffs. But if basically the character, the same pre and post, then we'll get to it. So yeah, let's explain the tiers real quick here, right? So biggest winners is obvious. It's just, the characters that got the biggest buffs, the characters that jumped the most in terms of their power level. It doesn't necessarily mean that a character is like a top tier now, right? Certainly, there's one example of this that I don't think literally anyone will be surprised by when we get to him. When we get to big, burly, armored him, right? But this doesn't necessarily need to be that the character is like a top tier character now. It's just more so, if you jumped like a solid 2 tiers or something like that, even if that was from bottom tier to high tier or something, then I think that counts, right? Substantial buffs is basically, again, just characters that got noticeably stronger, characters that you have to actually care about now, perhaps, that didn't exist before, or again, characters maybe were strong already and got buffed to the point that, maybe they are in that top tier conversation now. Escape nerfs is an interesting one. I consider this to be pretty, if you were a top tier character or a damn near top tier character, just an incredibly powerful character, and you don't show up in these patch notes at all, and you're not affected, I'll consider that a win, man. I'll consider that a win. And there's definitely a couple of those like that, right? Minor buffs is easy. Minor buffs is just, you got some stuff. Maybe not the world's most game-changing things, but a step in the right direction, perhaps. Who do you think's in a weird spot? We can certainly talk about it. Galleon is Galleon, right? Galleon is new, right? She didn't win or lose this patch. I do think he's very good. We've talked about this already, but her standing has not changed. This is her first patch existing in the video game, right? And then it kind of flips from there. Galleon splits up your winners and your losers, right? So biggest losers, characters that got nerfed to the hardest. Minor nerfs, right? Same thing. Essentially the same. There's there's going to be a good handful of characters here who basically, maybe their matchups haven't changed. Oh, a very, very important thing to note about, buffs and nerfs and things like this. Again, it may be that while you are not directly mentioned in the patch notes, if your worst matchup is a top tier now, right? Or if some of your some of your better matchups are more meta relevant characters, because again, keep in mind, a character's strength is not just predicated on their own fundamental strength in a vacuum. How well they match up into the greater meta is also very important, right? So if meta relevant characters are better matchups for you now, you got better in this patch, even if you don't exist in the patch notes whatsoever. If your bad matchups got nerfed, if your bad matchups got buffed, if your good matchups got nerfed or buffed, right? These things matter. Because if you have a really good matchup against, okay, let me just get one thing out of the way. If you have a really good matchup against Vikala, for example, it doesn't really matter, right? Because Vikala is not a very good character. She's not horrible, awful, unplayable, right? But Vikala is not a very good character. She's not very meta relevant. If your character shits on Vikala, that's not really a point of strength for you, right? That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when we talk about tier lists, we are talking about high-level play, we are talking about tournament play, and having a really good matchup against Vikala is, maybe Dragalia is memeing that week and you run into his Vikala and your character kills her, but so does most of the game. So don't worry about it. So your matchups, what meta-relevant characters exist, what new meta-relevant characters were introduced, what old meta-relevant characters may be less relevant now, that might affect you even past what the patch notes say about your character specifically, right? So with that in mind, I think I'd forgotten, by the way, I didn't mention Forgotten, right? We can talk about Forgotten. This is it. Vikala is here, for example. These are characters who I think, this is escaped nerfs, but sad, escaped buffs. These are characters who I think needed a little bit of something that are completely not mentioned in the patch notes, and it's a little bit sad, And Vikala is certainly the number one contender there, right? Oh yeah, Rick, I commentated my first bracket yesterday. It was my friend's 30-plus player Strive Weekly. That's really cool, man. Congrats. Commentating's fun. I always get ADHD and I get distracted, but it's a good time, especially if you have a co-commentator or something. escaped getting gaping holes in a kit fixed. Yes. So, I mean, Vikala, we can talk about Vikala first, I suppose. So, the only characters, to give everyone a quick review of what actually happened in this patch. The only characters mentioned by name in this patch are Ladiva, Vaseraga, Beelzebub, Nier, Vane, Beatrix, Versusia. Sandalphon doesn't really count. He got like a quality of life change. Sandalphon's essentially the same as far as his patch notes, at least, right? And then Ferry and Zeta technically as well. But this fuzzy change is sort of the universal, the big universal change that might affect multiple characters. Fuzzies, or just the ability for rising aerials to hit someone. Who like to fuzzy someone like that has just been removed from the game entirely, unless your name is Ferry, whose her JL works exactly the same, or unless your name is Zeta, where she did lose her fuzzy, but at least she can still double overhead people with JU, because that is a rising overhead, right? She bounces off you with JU and goes like that, right? So this is the big thing that might affect some characters who aren't named by name here, but yeah. And then this multi-hit thing is a mild buff to some characters. It's like a 100 damage buff to the end of your combos sometimes. So with that in mind, we can get started here. Gran? So Gran is, I think, a lot like Gran is No, I was gonna say that I don't think Gran is a character that needs to get nerfed or anything like that. Gran is, I think, mostly the same, right? You could argue, if anything, you could argue possibly that Gran likes a little teensy weensy bit better off here, just because basically members of his archetype better than him got a little bit weaker, right? Beatrix got nerfed. I mean, you could argue that characters like Ladiva and things like this being a little bit more meta relevant is probably a good thing for him, right? You could argue that he's slightly better, but I think Gran is certainly, like, overall that there's not, like, you know, there's not a ton of stuff that changed for him, right? Now I will say I am going to argue here, and maybe Djeeta's will kill me for this. I do think I'm going to argue that Djeeta is slightly better in this patch. Djeeta herself, you may notice, is not anywhere in these patch notes, right? Djeeta didn't have a fuzzy, right? Djeeta didn't have a fuzzy, so she's not affected by the fuzzy change at all, and obviously Djeeta is not mentioned in these patch notes whatsoever, right? But I do think that this being kind of a big body patch, right? This being a patch where you're going to see a lot more Ladiva, you're going to see a lot more Vaseraga. Not that Djeeta is going to, like, eviscerate these characters or anything like that. And if anything, these characters getting better made their matchups against Djeeta, like, and defensive style characters that might have kept them from getting their game plan started a little better. But I do think that in general, if you are one of these sort of mid-range defensive style, like, all-rounder characters, like Djeeta kind of is, that this patch was kind of good for you, right? I'm not saying that Djeeta loves fighting. Vaseraga, just for example, is just a way better character than Djeeta is at this point. So I'm not saying that that she's gonna crush him or anything like that. But I do think I would wager she probably still has a decent matchup into both Vaseraga and Ladiva, and then both of them being a little bit more meaningful, I think helps Djeeta a little bit, a tiny bit, right? A tiny bit, enough to move her up here. I think she likes fighting those characters more than like Gran does, for example. Katalina is obvious to me. Katalina is. I mean, I almost want Katalina in particular, obviously escaped nerfs. I almost want to put her in biggest winners, just because a character who, in my opinion, is this strong, being entirely out of the patch notes. Like, Katalina is not like, oh, like a strong character who didn't get nerfs. Katalina, in my opinion, was a top 1 contender last patch, who is exactly. Oh, you know what? No, I'm gonna. You know what? I am gonna put Katalina in biggest winners because. I also, this might sound crazy. Katalina, in my opinion, is a top 1 contender who got not only no nerfs, but everything we just said about Djeeta applies to her too. Do you know what one of Ladiva's worst matchups is? It's Katalina, right? I mean, again, Vaseraga certainly has a few more tools, but again, like these defensive mid-range style zoners, right? I mean, they both have also like the EX fireballs, they have U fireballs. Cat has really good full screen pokes to punish Vaseraga going to Soul Forge and things like this. So I would also argue that, like, not only was she a top 1 character who didn't get nerfed at all, I think some of her best matchups are more meta-relevant characters now, right? It's insane. Katalina is just not. I mean, maybe I have a slightly higher opinion of Katalina than some people. I think everyone agrees she's strong. Not everyone agrees she's like top 3, right? But Katalina got no nerfs, was maybe the best character in the game. A lot of her competition for top 1 got at least slightly worse, and a lot of the new competition for like high tier and top tier are good matchups for her. This character is eating really, really well in this patch, I think. Listen. I'm going to, I'm not really sure what to say. I'm not sure if I wanna, I think I wanna put Charlotta in Forgotten, because I think Charlotta is not very good, and didn't get very many changes, right? But I also will say that I don't think Charlotta is actually completely unaffected by this patch, right? I think Charlotta is actually hurt a little bit here, because she is the exact opposite of Katalina. Do you know what Vaseraga and Beelzebub and Ladiva, all these characters that are much more relevant in the meta now, do you know who they really, really like to fight? You know, this is one, I mean, I'll tell you for a fact, this is one of Ladiva's better matchups. It's one of Vaseraga's better matchups. This is one of Vane's better matchups. This is one of Beelzebub, I believe's better matchups as well, right? Almost every character that got buffed significantly in this patch is a bad matchup for Charlotta, right? So I do think that she does get hurt by this patch. Not insane. She doesn't get like nerfed directly, right? Rushdown Zeta is kind of impressive sometimes. Or what are you talking about with Djeeta there? Really just need more balance changes in general. That's a different discussion. Someone said, do you think I wonder if we'll get another big patch like the Versusia one? I don't know if we're gonna get a patch that big ever again. I don't know that we want a patch that big ever again, right? A big patch, sure, like a balanced patch with a lot of changes, but like the Versusia patch, every single character had like 18 lines of changes. It is a miracle that overall, in my opinion, the game went in a very good direction with that patch. At this point, the game is in a good enough spot that doing something like the Versusia patch again could very easily end us up in like a Tekken 8 Season 2 kind of situation, right? I think changing things, it will be making changes for the sake of making changes, just to like, keep things fresh, because we don't need that many huge changes to the balance of the game as it stands. So like, it would just be doing it for the sake of doing it, which I don't think is a horrible thing necessarily, but as big as the Versusia patch, I don't think, you know. I mean, we're gonna see, right, as we go through here. Like, I mean, I'm gonna be real. Like, even this patch, as small as it is, right, the changes made here were very impactful. Right, the changes made here were very impactful, and again, like, you know, top 5 Vaseraga or whatever. Obviously, it's a bit of a spoiler, but everyone knows Vaseraga is probably maybe the biggest winner of this entire patch, right? Top 5 Vaseraga, that's a big difference, man. That's a huge meta shift, right? Top 5 Vaseraga, high tier Ladiva, Beelzebub buffs, Vane's not bottom 1 anymore, right? Like, Beatrix actually being hit, I think, more significantly than I thought originally, right? Like, even this with like in a relatively Fuzzy's gone entirely. Even this in a relatively small amount of text, this patch is more impactful than you might think. Versusia patch size? I don't know. If the Wilderness patch is about this big again, like 4 buffs, 4 very substantial buffs, and 4 like tuning nerfs, I'd be okay with that personally. Being a master rank Vane player, I think change made a huge difference. Yeah. My patience with Voss since the first game paid off. Well, there you go. Yeah, so Charlotta, I think, is hurt a little bit by this patch, right? Honestly, bro, I forgot about Lancelot, so I'm gonna assume the devs did too. I don't think he loves fighting Ladiva that much. I don't think he loves fighting some of the characters that got buffed that much. But bro, I forgot about this guy, and I'm gonna assume the Grand Blue devs did too. They just they nerfed him ever so long ago, and they've just kind of left him there as one of the least popular, and at this point, one of the weaker characters in the game too, right? Lance is just, he's chilling. I would argue that Percival is definitely in the escaped nerfs camp, certainly. You could argue as well that, like, I don't know if he loves fighting Vaseraga. Ladiva is certainly not such a bad matchup for him. I don't think that his I don't think necessarily that like his matchup spread has gotten that much better or anything like that in terms of like good characters versus bad characters. But he, you know, he's really good, and Flame Carpet still functions exactly the same way, and everything else about him still functions exactly the same way, right? So Percy, I think Percy, slightly overrated character in my opinion. I think Toro winning Arc World Tour did some psychic damage to people, but I do think that certain aspects of Percy's kit are incredibly strong, and they're just there. They're exactly the same as they were, and if anything, you could argue that some of his some of his good matchups got a little bit better. So, Ladiva also, I think, is one of our biggest winners for sure. I mean, we've been referencing her and Vaseraga the entire time. Ladiva is not a top tier in this patch, I don't think, personally. As the biggest Ladiva up player in history, I still think that that's a little bit of a stretch. But I do think Ladiva was very easily a bottom 5 contender last patch, at the very best, right? You couldn't really get her that much higher than there. I had her in like the bottom of low mid tier because I love Ladiva, and putting her in bottom tier hurts my heart. But it was a very reasonable thing to say that Ladiva was bottom 5, bottom 3, something like that last patch. And she's just a menace now, right? To talk about exactly why, since this is one of our first characters named in the patch notes directly, basically everything about her got buffed, right? Her defense got better because she has 5 frame light SPD now, which unironically gives her some of the best defense in the video game, basically, because her anti-6XL and anti-far L defense is just incredibly ignorant now, right? You headbutt is a real reversal now, so that helps her defense too. 2U got a range increase, right, which also helps. This is a bug fix mostly, right? Her damage went up in like 4 different ways. Work the Crowd got a buff, a bunch of things that didn't, used to get affected by Work the Crowd, got affected by Work the Crowd. Her SSBA damage went up for some ungodly reason. This does 10,000 damage on 2 Brave points now when you hit it raw. I don't know what's going on. Her neutral, which was her biggest weakness, it's a lot harder to wall Ladiva out now because these L and M Elegant Lariat changes mean that backdash in neutral against Ladiva is a significantly scarier option than it used to be. They just tuned Ladiva up in literally every single way you could imagine. Her defense got significantly better. Her neutral got significantly better. And the best part about her like win condition, her ability to snowball around after 1 SPD, also got significantly better, right? They tuned this character up in almost every way you can imagine. Pretty much, she's eating really good in this patch. She jumped like 20 spots on the tier list unironically. I would call Ladiva, she's vaguely somewhere in that high tier range of character now, where again, literally putting Ladiva in bottom 3 last patch would not have been a crazy thing to say, right? Like imagine if this is, like, to give everyone context, like imagine Vikala. Imagine if next patch we're talking, like Vikala is like, a Gran level character, right? Like, she's like a high tier. Some people are like complaining about Vikala, saying she should be top tier, maybe, right? Imagine if that was that's what happened to Ladiva. They were similar. Ladiva's definitely better, but they were similar levels of power, and Ladiva is just, like, unironically an incredibly strong character in this patch now. Definitely one of the biggest winners. On that note, I would argue that Metera, I mean, it's hard to say, right? You could really put Metera in any one of these 3 camps. Metera is like a slightly less, I would argue Metera is like a slightly less meaningful version of Katalina in this patch, in the sense that Metera didn't get nerfed. You Butterfly is exactly the same move that it was. Now, I don't think Metera needs nerfs as much as some people do, but I think You Butterfly is a war crime of a move, and that being completely gone is very funny. And as well, this being the patch of the big bodies, guess who really loves fighting them too, there was a time where, just like two weeks ago or something in Dreamland, there were 5 Ladivas. There were 5 Ladivas, right? There were 5 Ladivas in that weekly, me myself included, and like 3 of the Ladivas got to top 8 or something like that. Of the 5 Ladivas, 4 of them died to a Metera, right? Of the 5 Ladivas in that tournament, 4 of them got killed by Senpai Spider. I'll tell you, she loves having Ladiva be a much more meta-relevant character now, and I think she can. I mean, Vaseraga, again, has more, slightly more tools to deal with this, but Vaseraga does not love the Metera matchup either, right? Neither does, to my understanding, Vane, really, though Vane not quite as strong as some of these other characters, right? I suppose Ladiva went up, yeah. So, I mean, Metera, unironically, you could argue that her not being nerfed, and also, like, some of her best matchups becoming more meta-relevant now, that matters, man. Now, I think... yeah, it feels weird to put her in substantial buffs because she's just not in the patch, right? She's just not in the patch. But not getting nerfed, it's basically, again, it's a microcosm of Katalina, right? She didn't get nerfed, and her bad match, or some of her good matchups got much more relevant. So I'll put her down here. I think so. Minor? I don't think so. So she didn't get, because basically what I'm counting like it's not getting nerfed as also a buff, basically. A character like this not getting nerfed and also having some of your best matchups become much more relevant to the meta, I think it's a big deal. If you want to put her here, though, I think it's totally fair, right? I think Metera is not, again, I don't think Metera is like as game-breaking as some people do, but I definitely think You Butterfly being the way it is for 3 more months is certainly quite the choice. Okay. In a similar manner, Lowain, very similar to, like, again, characters that like fighting Vaseraga and Ladiva and Vane and stuff like this. They're gonna enjoy this patch, right? Lowain not in the patch notes whatsoever, But again, a lot of his better matchups are a little bit more important. Lowain really does fuck on Vaseraga in particular quite badly. It's mitigated a little bit by just Vaseraga is just way better than Lowain is now, so there's a bit of a power level diff there. I have a skewed perception of Metera and will not be commenting. I mean, Vira player, right? Vira player thinks Metera is top 0 probably. But yeah, so Lowain has really liked the Vaseraga matchup last patch. I think it's probably a little better for Vas this patch, but Vaseraga matters a lot, and Lowain is going to be eating in that world. He also likes fighting Ladiva. He also likes fighting Vane. Beelzebub, maybe not as much, because Bubs is the other sort of new, not new, but he, an even more important character than he was before, right? So maybe not quite so much, but overall, I think Lowain is having a good time, somewhat in this patch, right? Ferry, same thing. Right, I'm not personally. I don't want Ferry to get nerfed. I know everyone. She won Evo Japan. She's top 5. Get her out of the game immediately. Kill the ghost girl. I think Ferry. I would not say that Ferry escaped nerfs myself. I think Ferry is a strong zoner, but if she remained at this power level for a while, I don't think I would mind it at all, right? I think Ferry, again, just gets the same thing of, she likes fighting Ladiva. I don't know if she likes fighting Vaseraga quite so much anymore. Maybe a little bit. She can still maybe keep him from getting Soulforged, right? I mean, we're going to talk about Vaseraga in a second here, but the big thing with Vaseraga is there used to be 2 camps of how to deal with him back when he was a little worse. It was either kill him once he got Soulforged, or stop him from getting Soulforged in the first place, right? If you had a lot of reliable 3-hit moves and stuff like that, you could stop Vaseraga with Soulforge up a lot more consistently, right? That camp of people, the people who their best option to deal with Soulforge was to, he gets it, but then I kill him anyway. Those people are way more hurt. Their Vaseraga matchup is way more hurt by this patch than the ones whose goal was to never let him get started in the first place. Ferry does not have a lot of 3-hitting moves. Basically none of them, actually. She has none of them. Ferry's goal is definitely stop Vaseraga from getting it in the first place, and that still functions just about as well in this patch, outside of 5M, making it a little bit hard, right? That's true, okay. You could say Ferry literally escaped, she is the only character who still has the fuzzy license, right? So you could say that Ferry, literally escaped the nerf, but I don't think that this is so much that, Ferry is broken and they gave her, and how dare they not nerf her? I think if you take this away from Ferry, she craters, right? I don't think this is, in my opinion, this is not Ferry unjustly escaping a nerf. If Ferry's JL, if you took Ferry's 50-50 away, the character is hot garbage, right? The character doesn't work anymore. You kill her forever, right? This is, I think, a very reasonable exception to this, I think, right? Ferry, this is one of the 2 things about Ferry. This is not, to me, it's not her escaping nerfs and that, she deserved to get that nerf, but didn't, right? I think a character like Katalina, deserved to have a nerf and didn't. Ferry did not deserve to get nerfed in that way. They just decided to not kill her, right? If you took Ferry's high-low away, she's Vikala tier. Again, none of the other nerfs, none of the other buffs they gave her in 2.0 are going to take that away. At that point, why would you ever not just down back on Ferry forever and ever and ever and ever? So I disagree that that's her escaping nerfs, personally. But Vaseraga, Zeta lost her fuzzy. That's a big deal. Now, again, is Zeta dead? Is she horrible? Is she awful? No. But it is very funny that Zeta does not have a character portrait here, and in my opinion, she is by far the biggest loser of the patch. She had, the best 50-50 in the entire game, and it's just gone now. Now, she does still have, really good corner carry. Rhapsody is still a very silly reversal, right? She has, good if slow normals, especially her mediums, right? She's got a Grimnir's F Shiki was better. Didn't it only work in the corner? Or am I misremembering? Didn't Grimnir's fuzzy only work in the corner? Or am I wrong? No. Oh, okay. Fair enough. I mean, she had one of the best. I think Grimnir's was very good as well as true. But I guess, yeah, sure. I'll take your word for it. They're both really good. They were both they were the best looping mixes in the game, and Zeta's just gone, right? Grimnir's is too, but Grimnir has workarounds for that, right? It worked anywhere where he had seal for confirm. I mean, all Zeta needed was a knockdown, right? His couldn't be rolled on JH. I mean, roll out, sure, but yeah. Honestly, that sounds comparable to me. I know Grimnir having seal up is not much of a prerequisite, but it is still a prerequisite compared to Zeta's I got a knockdown literally ever, right? Anyway. So this is a big nerf. This is the biggest nerf. In fact, there's not a character who really got like their shit pushed in this patch. This is probably the biggest nerf in the entire patch, is this 50-50 being gone from Zeta. Is she still good? Yes. Doesn't it say she still has her fuzzy? Did I misread that? No. So what she still has is, specifically, what this patch is doing is it's making it so that if you are rising, right, during the rising portion of a jump, you can no longer overhead people with your air normals. What this is saying is after Pogo, if you cancel Pogo into rising mid-air attacks, you can still double overhead people, right? This is a separate sort of like high-low thing Zeta had. This is still here, right? Yeah, exactly. J, U, and H will hit. Like if you, because Pogo bounces you up, you are now in the rising part of a jump, and you can cancel that into like JH, right? So you can go like a little double overhead thing. Zeta could always do this. JU into H, that still works. The fuzzy, the JU itself, if JU is rising, right? Like the fuzzy was you would do like your deep hitting JH or something like that, and then rising JU, right? That doesn't work anymore, and that was kind of her fuzzy because that it's only things canceled out of JU. I argue Percy is as good as Cat. I think Percy's really good. I might underrate Percy a little bit. I think Percy's strong, certainly. I personally wouldn't go that far. I think Flame Carpet is fucking nuts for sure. Right? I think Flame Carpet is certainly insane. But yeah, so Zeta, probably the biggest loser of the patch, actually. Right? Jam or JH both work for Zeta. Yeah, as long as you just have, as long as it's canceled out of JU like this, it still works, right? So, again, Vaseraga, right, is the biggest winner of the patch, obviously, right? Vaseraga was already a pretty solid character, and now he is just, I put some more thought into it. I put some more thought, because at first I was like, oh my god, what do they do to Vaseraga? And then I was like thinking about it a little bit more, and I was like, what? Is it really that good? And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I was like, yes, it is that good. We can talk about Voss. He's mentioned explicitly in the patch notes here. I mean, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Oh, hey, you have my rank distribution up? Avaris, yes, we're going to talk about that in a second. I was going to give you a shout out. That is a really, really, really good post. I'm gonna talk about that after we're done doing this. Because I think it's got a lot of very... I love how detailed you made it. I think it's got a lot of very interesting takeaways because of how many different like lenses you had on it. It's great, man. I think we're definitely going to talk about it after. So here's the thing, right? Obviously, Vaseraga's damage went even higher this patch, right? His advantage state got even better with the Soul Forge changes, things like this. These matter, but the reason that I like genuinely like where I was like, okay, you know what? That's on me. Like it's like we're here, right? We're here. Like Vaseraga is a top tier character now, is because what this patch really did that helps a lot for Voss, I think, is it shores up his weaknesses, right? Of which he had, not many, but very significant ones, right? Vaseraga, his defense gets significantly better in this patch, because if you remember, I know I've always been, you know, in the eyes of many people, the world's greatest Vaseraga down player, right? But I've always said, before this patch, that Vaseraga has the worst defense in the game. And why do I say that? Because it's like, well, you know, he has U-Tackle, and U-Tackle's broken, and he has an invincible command grab, and he's got these armor moves and stuff like that, and, you know, it's broken, right? But I usually, you know, this isn't a reversal, it's armored on frame 5. This is like a, you know, 26 frame reaction check DP, right? It's the only UDP in the game that not only can you save jab it, you can do 2 close L's in a row and still save jab this thing. Like, his reversals are not very good, right? But you will remember, I've been very consistent on this, right? You will remember that even, you know, multiple patches ago, I always said Vaseraga's best defensive option was not necessarily U-Tackle, right? I mean, this technically was his only frame 1 invuln thing, so he needed it, right? But like the funny thing Voss could do a lot of the time is this, right? This was Vaseraga's like really, like Vaseraga, like this right here, the steppers out of the corner, is Vaseraga's like most oppressive defensive tool in my opinion. Now, of course, this still has the same problem as U-Tackle, where it is, right? Where it's 5 frame armor startup. Right, he doesn't get this right away. But this, unlike U-Tackle, where if you block this, right, Vaseraga just dies, and that actually became even more the case this patch, where the U-Tackle pushback when blocking the second hit has been reduced to when the first hit whiffs. So what this used to be, right, is back in the day, Vaseraga U-Tackle pushed you so far away on block. We're talking like 1.3 patch, right? It pushed you so far away on block that like only characters, and he was -6. Only characters with very good far Ls, like this fucking bitch right here, right, could reasonably punish it on block. So then what they did in the 1.5 patch is they made it so that if you blocked this first punch here from Vas, right, then he ended up this close to you, which meant everyone got an auto combo, and like people who got, 6-frame close M's had like a close auto combo on him, right? So, that was a nerf to you tackle, right? And then what they did in this patch is now even if you don't block that first part, he still is fully in, like he's still here, right? He's still like everyone gets a punish on this. So you tackle has actually been nerfed as a defensive option, even though the reward on it has been buffed with how far M works. But this stepper, yes, with armor specifically, right? With armor specifically, this is Vasaraga's best defensive tool, right? I've always been consistent on this, right? When he has Soul Forge up, this is his best defensive option, because unlike you tackle, where you die on block, this puts Vasaraga in his win condition, right? This is like a straight up, whoop! On hits, you die, and on block, Vasaraga's in his win condition now, right? Like, that's like, it's an instant Una reverse card. Now, the thing is, it was kind of uncommon. It was hard for Vasaraga to find Soul Forge when he was in the corner, right? Can Vas use U-step like H-step? A little bit. On block, he's minus, right? Safe, but minus. It can help him get out of the corner. This is usually only good for like really, like if you need armor that's like real far away. Like we're talking Katalina, again, coming up here, right? Katalina being like out here, right? This is where Vas would 2-2 you, because the odds that you can hit him in like the 7-frame armor startup or whatever are low. But, like, it's not... No, this is worse than H-Step, straight up. Unless you don't have Soul Forge, right? Obviously, you don't have Soul Forge, H-Step is awful, right? But with Soul Forge up, his 2-2-H was his most oppressive defensive tool. The thing is, last patch, it was kind of uncommon for Vasaraga to have Soul Forge when he's on defense, right? Because many times, he either would have been getting his ass beat, so he can't really get into Soul Forge, right? Or even if he did get Soul Forge, maybe he, like... spent it on something, he like EX tackled you in the corner, he like misjudged, he did this, and you back through him, and now he doesn't have Soul Forge anymore, or maybe he like tried a Soul Forge option and you smacked him out of it, right? He like tried to do this and you hit him in the first 5 frames and he died, something like that. It was very often that Vasaraga didn't really have Soul Forge as often when he was on defense. Now, right, even if, say Vasaraga has this exact scenario, right, where he does this, and you block it and throw him, right? When he wakes up here, he still has one last hurrah. He still has one last little bit of Soul Forge. You saw it, like, he still gets to maybe try one more Soul Forge option. And even that, like, yes, you can just meaty him again, right? But the fact that, again, the fact that he has that option on deck is so much more worthwhile. And I mean, God forbid, if that's not, and this is the worst case, by the way, right? If Vasaraga just happens to get Soul Forge and you push him to the corner while he had the full bar up, right? He gets like 2 or 3 tries at doing some shit like this before he's out of it, right? And again, remember, this is where we talk about the risk-reward of this in particular. Again, I personally don't really see you tackle as like an insane option, or this is an insane option, or something like that. This in particular, the risk-reward on this, Vasaraga only needs to get you, like he needs to get you to block this once. And then he very easily can snowball the entire round from there, right? So if he had just had Soul Forge, he got it in neutral, maybe you like hit him for it after he got it, you punished him, you pushed him to the corner, something like that, right? He gets like 2 or 3 tries at this. You can like meaty him out of it like twice or 3 times or something. At least, this and then maybe a different armor move or something like that before he actually needs to, before he actually like fully pays the price. And has to be Soul Forge this Vasaraga in the corner, right? So these Soul Forge buffs, specifically making it so that it's this gauge where he gets this. He gets like 2 or 3. If you hit him a lot, he gets 2. If you hit him once, or you put him in a long animation, he gets 2. If you hit him once, he gets 3 per charge. Is a huge defensive buff to Vasaraga, right? It's a huge defensive buff and neutral buff to Vasaraga. And a neutral buff, by the way, in the sense that, again, if he gets Soul Forge, if he just tries to tackle and you, like, hit him out of it or something, he doesn't just lose his Soul Forge. Now, he gets to try multiple times. It's also an offensive buff because you can, like, block this, like a charged heavy, and he still gets Soul Forge. It's a buff everywhere. But where I care about it the most is that it's a defensive buff to Vasaraga, who, before this patch, I would have said, had the worst defense in the game unequivocally. Now, his defense is still not amazing, right? But taking a character's biggest weakness and mitigating it significantly is, I mean, for a character where their strengths are as strong as Vasaraga, even last patch, I would have told you Vasaraga has some of just the best win, like, his, like, advantage state, as a Smash player would say, his win condition, is one of the strongest in the whole game. You in the corner, Vas doing this, is, like, one of the least fucking interactive things I've ever, like, you can't Brave counter, you can't really mash, but you have to mash, because if you don't, he'll command grab you, right? This is a horrifying situation, right? There's not a single character in the game that is not actively looking for the nearest gun to end their life when Vaseraga has them here. This got even better this patch, but also, when his strengths are that strong, taking his biggest weakness and making it, much better is a big deal. And that's not the only defensive buff Vaseraga got here either, by the way, is the thing. 5M, right? 5M. This is just, this is just straight up one of the best far H's in the game, right? You can think of this as a far H,
Very
right?
good odds.
We're talking about the silly character, yes. This is essentially a far H. It's heavy attack level. It clashes with heavies. It's an 11 frame far H that's this big, right? Now, mind you, just for all we were talking about earlier, right? This is just a worse version of Katalina's far H. I feel like I'm fucking losing my mind sometimes because motherfuckers will say man, Vaseraga far H is so insane. How did they allow this button in the game? And then they'll turn around and say Katalina's not that good, right? Because this is basically a slightly bigger, I think. Slightly bigger, I think. Let's see here. Is this slightly bigger than Cat's far H? I think it is. Right? Cat far H is hidden from right under the infinity sign right there. He can probably hit from a little further out, right? Yeah. There's a slightly bigger version of Katalina's far H that's 2 frames slower, right? So I just want to point that out, right? I just want to point that out, right? This is what they did to Vaseraga was they gave him a comparable button to Katalina, and everyone wants it removed from the video game. I know we already got past the Katalina portion, but this character, this one, right? No, this one right here. This character is not. This character's not okay, right? But yeah, so his 5M's crazy, right? And what this does is it also helps Vaseraga on defense a lot, right? If you're trying to pressure Vaseraga from out here, now, to be fair, this is where Vaseraga's defense was at its strongest last patch, too, right? Because, when you're spaced out like this, you can't just do, the close L-ing him to death that kills all of Vaseraga's reversals, right? So, to be fair, it was a bad idea to pressure Vaseraga in the Grand Blue Zone last patch, too, right? You just wouldn't do that last patch. It's a bad idea. That's where all of the Soul Forge options and U-Tackle and all of this are most effective, right? So, to be fair, this matters less as a defensive buff than a neutral buff, right? But it is also another really good option that Vaseraga has in the Grand Blue Zone, right? So it takes where his defense was strongest, it got even stronger. Where his defense was weakest, it got significantly better with the Soul Forge changes, right? And while U-Tackle has been nerfed, in terms of the risk on it, because even if they block only the second bit out here in the Grand Blue Zone, right, that you still get mauled by any character, not just ones with good far Ls. It is also worth noting that what 5M does is it also increases Vaseraga's reward on this, right? He did not used to get, a very consistent high damage combo off U-Tackle in the corner like this. It was, finicky, it would drop a lot, and it certainly didn't do this much damage, right? And that's not even optimal, I'm sure, right? But Vaseraga was not that often getting that much when he hits you with U-Tackle. So, his defense got better in, its worst case scenario. His reward when he's right, even on some of his more situational tools, went up, and where his defense was already strong, it got even better. Why am I focusing so much on this patch and how it affected Vaseraga's defense? Because the character is kind of nuts everywhere else, right? The character was already kind of very good everywhere else, right? Again, maybe best offense, one of the best offensive structures, one of the most unfair offensive structures in the entire game, point blank period, even last patch, they got even better. And now, in this patch as well, insane neutral, right? Insane neutral. 5M is just, again, he has Katalina far H, which is not fair. He shouldn't have that. At the very least, you can say that's Katalina's whole thing. Vaseraga should not have a Katalina far H comparable button, right? He does, his reward on a lot of his shit is also higher now because they gave him auto combo off of the stance for some reason. That's this, by the way, it's this, right? I think so. Is it, oh no, is it, I forget. I think it's this. I forget what change exactly allows this. But for some reason he gets this now. I think because he gets there a little quicker, so you're a little bit higher in the air still, right? But for some reason, Vaseraga gets auto combo after this now. His mid screen as well, 5M as well, doing things like this. Oh, well, hold on. You gotta micro walk it, I think, a little bit, like that, right? Vas just having that meterless entirely. I focused on his defense, but the reality is Vaseraga is just like Ladiva in that they tuned this guy up everywhere, right? They tune this guy up everywhere. His offense significantly better. His defense, which is the biggest thing about, because again, when you shore up the weaknesses of a character like this, it gets nuts, right? His defense significantly better. His neutral, which is probably the second worst thing about him, he was okay, but you know, he could struggle in certain matchups. Also significantly better. I mean, I don't think anyone needed me. Everyone knew he was going here, but I really do want to explain why. It's something that I've put a lot of thought into as to, like, you know, because there is a lot of just, even in the patches where Vaseraga, I think, was pretty unequivocally a bad character, like we're talking like pre-Versusia patch and stuff like that, people still like doom about this guy way too much, right? So I always get a little, I've talked about a lot how like a lot of the times I feel like I have an opinion, it seems like a reasonable opinion in a vacuum, and then I look at the people who agree with me and I go, oh no, I'm surrounded by fucking psychos. Does that mean that my opinion is psycho, or is it just bad luck, right? And on Vaseraga being top tier now, this is kind of like, I have a very similar experience where I'm like, in a vacuum, it's obvious that they went way too far with this guy. He's so good now. But when I look around me, all the people that agree with me are like saying like insane, like inane shit. Like they just don't know how Vaseraga works, or they're, you know, like I don't know what's going on. Like they're saying Vaseraga's top tier for reasons that I find like genuinely absurd, right? So I'm like, I really sat, I was like, wait, is it really, is he as good as I thought he was? Or am I just like getting like swept along with like the derangement syndrome that people have about like big bodies, right? But after sitting down, thinking about it in the comfort of my own room a little bit more, exactly, the dumbest guy you know just agreed with you. Exactly, like it's not that they are wrong or that I'm wrong. It's that, you know, they can have their opinions for the reasons they want, but excluding everything else, yeah, no, Vaseraga got better in every single way imaginable, and one of his biggest weakness, which was, you know, one of the biggest weaknesses that any character had in the game, got shored up immensely. He's insane now, right? He's very, very good. Still not as good as Katalina, by the way. Still not as good as Grimnir. Think about, like, he's very good. He's very, very good. Very, very, very strong character, and definitely the single biggest winner of the patch, unequivocally, I think. Narm, I didn't think about you. You don't like fighting Vaseraga, right? Isn't Vaseraga a bad matchup for your ass? I feel like Vas was a bad matchup when you were way better than him. Now that he's better than you, I feel like, I don't know. Narm is still very good, obviously. Maybe she likes fighting Ladiva, but Vaseraga is more relevant than Ladiva is in the meta now, certainly, right? I feel like, yeah. I feel like Vas is quite bad for Narm. Yeah. Vas is quite bad for Narm, and Vas is way more prevalent now. And Vas was quite bad for Narm when Narm was, like, obviously better than Vas. And now Vaseraga, in my opinion, is obviously better than Narm. So, one of your, terrible news, one of your worst matchups just became a top tier, right? I don't think Narm is, like, hurt that hard. She's not in the patch notes herself, but... Wait, what? I think Vaseraga really likes fighting Narmaya, personally. I think otherwise she's probably unchanged. I don't know that she really cares about... I mean, Ladiva is maybe good for her, but Vaseraga matters more, certainly, right? Narm obviously better than Vas. I think... Oh, no, I was saying last patch, Narm was obviously better than Vas, I think, right? And even when last patch, Narmaya was obviously better than Vas, even then, I thought that, that he was a bad matchup for her. Now, that I think Narm is still better than Vas... I don't. Even if you do think that, their power levels are much closer, and even when like she was way further above him, he was a bad matchup for her. So I would assume that that now she probably is not a huge fan of that. Now again, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's not that big of a deal. But like, you know, heartbreaking news. One of your worst matchups is now one of the best characters in the game and incredibly relevant in tournaments. Kind of a similar thing for Soriz as well, I think. I didn't fully buy the train that Soriz lost to Vaseraga last patch, but I do think that he loses pretty bad to him this patch, right? Soriz is mostly, I mean, also Ladiva is one of Soriz's worst matchups as well, right? So I don't think he likes fighting Beelzebub very much either, right? So I think in general, a lot of Soriz's bad matchups are just stronger characters now, and you're gonna see them more often. I still think Soriz is a very good character, and he himself is not in the patch notes at all, right? He didn't get, like, he doesn't have a fuzzy, stuff like that. Soriz doesn't like to see Vas or Ladiva, yes. So I do think Soriz is a little bit worse off in this patch. But I don't think he's like biggest losers tier or anything like that, right? Listen. Is Zooey forgotten? Zooey's matchup chart pre-patch is already really bad. She had a lot of slight losing matchups and a small number of even or winning ones. This patch didn't change things and made her two worst matchups bad. Versusia's main thing is harder now. Ladiva, Vas, and Vane are all winning matchups. To me, honestly, kind of similar to Lancelot, I'm just going to put Zooey in Forgotten, right? I'm going to put Zooey in Forgotten, I think. I think just like Lancelot, No one plays this guy, and Cygames doesn't care about her, and they don't think about her, and they probably will never. I mean, they gave her a Battle Pass skin. She's the only character, I think, who got a Battle Pass skin without any buffs. She's just not there. They removed her from the video game. Tubby is the only person who still has Zooey on his character select screen, I fear. They really buffed his 3 worst matchups. Yeah. Now, I think Soriz is still very good, but it's certainly these. He does not like seeing either of these, and probably this guy either, right? They know Diaphone likes Zooey, so they had to forget about her? I guess so. Cagliostro. I mean, she lost to Fuzzy, right? So she was one of the characters who actually did use a Fuzzy every now and then. So at the very least, she goes here. I'm not really sure, actually, how Cagliostro feels about, like, Voss or Beelzebub. I imagine at this point, she probably doesn't love Vaseraga too much. Not sure about Bubs. Ladiva, I think, is, like, slightly winning for her. Maybe even a little bit better than that, but something like that. But I think mostly, I mean, Cagliostro, I don't think her matchup chart got, like, significantly worse or something like that. I think it's just more so that she lost a Fuzzy, right? She was one of the characters who had a Fuzzy who actually used it, like, with some amount of regularity. I believe it was off U-Trap, right? So, I mean, losing that hurts. Honestly, her, like, last patch, losing her fucking combo limit reset super combo was probably a bigger deal, but Cag's a little worse now than she was before, right? I don't know about you, Fox Girl. I mean, I know you like fighting Ladiva. Bubs can pull her from behind her traps, so yeah. You like fighting Ladiva. I don't think you like fighting this guy very much. I don't think you like fighting this guy very much. I don't know. I'm gonna again, Yuel and Lowain both are the characters that I know the least about. I'm gonna put Yuel in essentially the same. I don't know that she's changed that much. I also don't know that I have, like, a strong opinion that Yuel really needs buffs. I know if you've seen where I put her in the tier list, but again, every time I say Lowain and Yuel, I don't really know, right? I don't really know. Isn't Layul's far H 3 hits? No, her far M is 2. Her far H is 1, no? Wouldn't wish Yuel to Masters on my worst enemy. I want to play Yuel to Masters. I think Yuel to Masters would be fun. Yuel far H is 3 hits? Is it really? I thought it was. Isn't this the 1 stab? Far M is 2 hits, no? Her far H isn't the forward advancing one? Yeah, it's far M, right? Her far M's 2 hits, though, I thought. Is it 3? That's something. Far M's 2 hits? Okay, that's what I thought. But yeah, so Uno, it's close H, that's 3? Right. Yes, she has a multi-hit close H. Yeah. She got a little buff from that, right? She did get a little buff from that. But again, this, I don't really count, this is like, you know, it's like a 150 damage bump on some of these characters' combos. It's not nothing. It's literally something. But, like, if this is, like, the main thing that changed for you in the patch, I think you're essentially the same, right? Yuel benefits from this, like Seox, Beelzebub, Anila, a bunch of characters like that. But, like, they can let their full close H rock, kind of. I meant mostly to break Voss's armor. Yeah, Yuel Voss, I'm not really sure. I think I've, you know, when I was playing Voss, that's a minor damage buff, not a buff to her gameplay. Yeah. When I was playing Voss, it didn't feel that bad, but I also think, like, Yuel does have some decent answers to stance, but also, you know, potentially you can get kind of mauled. I'm not sure. I think Uno's probably slightly up, right? I think Uno's probably slightly up. Voss armor is 4 hits. No, it's 3. He takes 2 hits and breaks, and the third one breaks him. But if it's your close H, then you're close enough he's gonna kill you, right? Is it? Yes. I'll show you right now. Vaseraga's armor. So if I have him just, like, I don't know, walk at me like this, right? Katalina's EX Fireball, right? 3 hits. If he walks, 1, 2, 3, right? The third one breaks it. Voss, he armors the first 2 hits and dies to the last one. Unless he does this is infinite armor no matter whether or not he has Soulforge, and stuff like this also is just infinite armor, right? You can't break U-Tackle once it starts. Okay, so yeah, I think Uno, I feel like maybe slightly up, right? I feel like Uno probably, you know, I don't know about Vaseraga is the one thing, but I feel like he probably likes Ladiva and Bubs both, right? I would have to imagine he likes fighting both of them. Uno can parry Bubs, dive kicks, and negate his zoning. Probably doesn't mind seeing Bubs more. Yeah, and I think he does like fighting Ladiva to an extent. I'm not sure how he feels about Voss. I think Uno can be one of those characters who just doesn't let Voss get started in the first place, right? Very good full screen game plan, just all around character. This is a strong character, right? So I think he probably doesn't mind. Like, on some of these characters that have, like, more unbalanced kits, Uno is the most all-round character in the game, right? In that he can zone with the best of them, he can rush down with the best of them, he can play mid-range with the best of them, and like, that's probably his weakest element, actually, but he can still play mid-range very well, right? Uno he does everything. So with these characters that are a little bit more jagged, like Ladiva and Voss and stuff like that, he tends to have something he can do, some place on the screen he can be, some game plan he can stick to, or something like that, that can cause them some trouble, right? Can't Uno break armor with 623H, or is that unrealistic? I don't think Uno's in the breaking armor train. I would say Uno is in the stopping Voss from ever getting Soulforge train, or at least making him take so much damage for it that it helps tilt the round in his favor. Which, again, that's the better train to be on right now. Everyone who was on my plan is I let Vaseraga get Soulforge, and then I kill him when he has it. Everyone that was their plan to deal with Soulforge is significantly worse off in this patch, because you have to do that multiple times before Voss actually runs out of it. Right? I'd say Yuel's slightly better this patch, because while almost everyone lost their 50-50, Hylo with Fuzzies, she's actually special for being one of the characters with a 50-50. That's a fair point. You could make that argument that just anyone with a 50-50, it's a little bit more special now, right? Yeah, like, relative to the field, that does make her a little... I'm gonna keep... I see what you mean. I think it's not a bad idea. I'm gonna keep it in somewhat... I'm gonna keep it at somewhat the same, but that's not a bad point. It's not a bad point. Eustace. I mean, I forgot about him. I kind of want to say they forgot about him too. I mean, he had a fuzzy, I think, but I don't know if he did it. Was it off you? Could he? I know he could fuzzy with you grenade, but he also had better. Eustace, yeah. Does anything matter? I mean, I feel like you don't like. Despite Eustace being who he is, I feel like he doesn't necessarily enjoy any of these matchups too much. I don't think Eustace is great. I don't think he's bad. I'm gonna say Eustace is the same. I don't think he's quite. I think he's probably the same. I don't know. I think he's probably the same. I don't think so. There are better things Eustace could do than the fuzzy. Yeah, like, he had one, but it was like really weird, and he also had like other ways to do pseudo-real high-low mix with U-Grenade anyway. Seox, brother, I have terrible news. Seox is in a rough spot, man. Eustace isn't like Ladiva and Voss, mostly because he gets stat checked on RPS when they get in. Yep. Seox is Ladiva's best matchup. I'll tell you that for free. I would say he's at least in that discussion. And I can't imagine he likes fighting Vaseraga either very much. Seox's matchup chart got worse in this patch for sure. Bubs, maybe he doesn't really care that much. Vane, he probably doesn't really care that much. Though again, Vane is like way down there in terms of relevance compared to the other three characters we're talking about, right? But like, Seox is a little worse. He's still very good, right? He's still very good, but like like some of his worst matchups are getting better. Vira's probably the same. Vira, does she hate fighting Voss? She might hate fighting Voss. Hope your stream goes well. I can't watch because I'm in class. Thanks, Juniper. It's going well so far. I'm having a good time. Hope you guys are as well. Oh, Beelzebub, though. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Oh, crap. Oh, man. Oh, no, this has to be so bad for her, right? He has to just put her in the fucking... He has to shove her in a locker and never let her get out, huh? This is bad, right? That's gotta be real rough. I don't know that she minds Ladiva that much. I don't know that she... I mean, maybe she kind of doesn't love Voss either, right? I'm okay with... I'm willing to say that she's... I think Beelzebub in particular, right? I think Beelzebub is going to shove Vira in a blender and never let her get out. I have to imagine, especially with his zoning being one of the things that's getting buffed. She doesn't like Cat, ironically. Yeah, but Cat is, always been meta relevant, right? That's not new. Though I guess she's even more so. You could argue that. But yeah, like, he probably just, Beelzebub especially probably puts her in a blender and kills her. And I can't imagine she loves Vaseraga too much. Breaks maybe missed the Vira. Why isn't she worse? No, I mean, I thought about it for a second. I think this guy probably bullies her really hard, right? This guy probably bullies her really, 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 really hard. So I think that, like, even just him, this has got to be one of her worst matchups that, again, got buffed, right? In a similar way to, like, Soriz and Seox on, like, the Ladiva and Voss train. She's on the Beelzebub train, for sure. A lot of the rushdown characters seem like they're a bit weaker now. It's what happens when you buff the big bodies, right? Like, sort of these, like, bruiser / rushdown characters losing to grapplers. That's like, that's the archetypal thing, right? So like when your grappler and your half grappler get stronger, it's gonna be rough. for the rushdown characters. That's going to be good for the zoners. This is also another patch with like some zoner buffs, right? AB, by the way, thanks for the follow. Bubs is obviously also right up here. I mean, Bubs is a character who was strong enough. Like, Bubs is strong enough that you could justify nerfing this character. Like, if... I think it would have been weird. I think there's certainly, like, before this patch, there were a lot of characters that were better than Bubs. But, like, Bubs was a character where, when I saw him here, I was like... Initially, I was like, Bubs? Nerfs? That's weird. Like, why would they nerf Beelzebub? He doesn't really... And then I looked, and they actually... It's like 16 lines of buffs. This character's pretty good. This character was pretty good before this patch, even. This is the best character that got buffed in the patch, for sure, right? Like, he was better than Vaseraga and Ladiva last patch, and now he's just, you know, what the fuck? Yeah, like, his fireballs are all, like, the charge version, the charge times are significantly faster. He's way better in Fireball Wars because of how they changed how his fireballs clash with things now, where they won't just pass by them. They'll sit there and wait, and they'll eat your whole fireball, and then they'll move, right? So, like, he's way better in Fireball Wars, which is a weakness of his. Karma, he has like, better pressure and combos. I know his optimal damage and his conversions did, in general, get a lot better, and Bubs already had a lot of combo freedom. He's not as buffed as hard. They did not buff him as hard as they did Ladiva and Vaseraga, but again, he was significantly better than both of them, right? Well, he was significantly better than Ladiva. He was, like, I would still call him, like, probably a good, like, half to like 3/4 of a tier higher than Vaseraga last patch too, right? So him just getting like significant, like not just like little things, significant buffs at all on a character like this feels kind of weird. He is one of these like new, like meta-defining characters that exists as it currently stands, right? Belial's like the same, probably. Belial's essentially the same, right? Okay, for Zeta's Arvis, Spear to be plus on block. Belial's still very good. He's been very good, even in 2.0 after they nerfed him, he's still very good. I mean, his matchup with Ladiva got a little worse because of how 6XL 2M is a really bad idea to do into Ladiva now, certainly. He's got some options against Vaseraga, right? I mean, Vaseraga got stronger, but I don't think Vaseraga is inherently like a horrible matchup for Belial or anything like that. Same thing with Bubs. Like again, Belial's one of these characters that is, he is just kind of very all-round, right? So he doesn't have any like truly awful matchups as far as I'm aware. So he's about the same. Belial's good. He was very good. He's still very good, and he continues to be very good after this patch, right? Now Avatar Belial on the other. I just realized I have not put any thought into you whatsoever since the patch. Because this guy, he has such a weird matchup. He has such a weird matchup with the big bodies, right? In that, it's like, in theory, he should have a pretty good matchup into like Ladiva or something like that, but he just kind of fucking dies. And I feel like that kind of fucking dying is a lot more common. Are you the same? Are you a little weaker? Are you a little... I don't know about you. I had like some like pre-canned thoughts ready for a lot of the characters. I did not think about you at all. You already explode, so about the same? You got even more volatile? That's probably a bad thing. Yeah, because I think, okay, I think I've consolidated my thoughts. I think Abel, like, power level-wise, is about the same, like, you know, most characters, they didn't get touched. But I do think that these matchups tend to be some of his most volatile, right? Matchups like these are some of his most volatile matchups, even if you might win them on paper. It's like, when we talk about tournament characters, consistency does matter a lot, right? And that is Abel's sort of biggest weakness, and I think it's maybe slightly exaggerated running into these sort of characters, right? It's like, you just could very easily just lose, especially in a 1-2 format, right? You might just die. Now, you might also, like, Abel is unironically one of the best zoners in the game, right? So genuinely, you might also just never let Voss get started, you might never let Ladiva get started, but with them being significantly better in neutral now in particular, I think this is where this hurts Abel a bit, right? I think his matchups with these characters got even more volatile, and they became much more meta-relevant. Not a big deal. Not a big deal, right? Miku Pipe Bomb MP3, yeah, not a big deal, but I think he maybe is a little more volatile than he used to be, right? He does well into everyone who got buffed, doesn't he? Here's this, like, this is my thing, right? Yes, right? I just, in theory, right? In theory, Abel, I think, has a... Oh, sorry, I bumped my mic. Abel, in theory, I think, has a really good matchup into Ladiva, right? And a pretty good matchup into Vaseraga. But, like, again, like, Abel is the only character where he's so volatile that I genuinely feel like I have to take, like, the idea that, like, listen, man, in a 1-2, in a bracket, right? Like, these are still... While those matchups... Like, those matchups are the most volatile for him, and they got more volatile this patch. And the characters got better, too. and they're more meta relevant. So he probably does less good into him than he used to, right? And of all of his 10-10 matchups, these were like some of the most 10-10 matchups that he has, right? Abel can also just kill you, absolutely, right? You never want to run into an Abel in a bracket, right? You never want to fight, you never want to be like in your TNS run or something like that, and you see like a good Abel. It's just like, because you just can't tell what's gonna happen, right? There's no way, unless you're like Metera or something who just kind of blows him up. Like, there's just no way to like really be confident in how an Abel match is gonna go. But I think that hurts the Abel just as much as it hurts you. And his most volatile matchups getting more meta relevant, I think it does matter, right? So Anila is probably a little forgotten. It's probably about the same. Anila's probably about this. I don't think. No, I'm gonna say Anila is essentially the same because I don't subscribe to. I don't think I would like. Basically, I want quality of life changes for Anila mostly. I think. Right? I want quality of life changes for Anila. I'm not on the Anila as like bottom 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 or 6 train myself, right? So I think Anila's is probably about the same. I think they need to hurry up and make her like 214H Link from max distance far L and far H already, right? But I don't think like Anila is not a character that I'm necessarily awaiting buffs for. She isn't awful, but she's forgotten. Forgotten for me is characters that I am awaiting buffs for that didn't get them, right? Like I'm like every patch I'm like, are we gonna give Vikala something now? Are we gonna give Lance Zooey? Are we gonna give him something? And Anila to me is not that. I'm looking for some quality of life buffs, but I don't think she could be better. Certainly, she's not great, but I don't think Anila's power level is at a place where I like, you know, the bottom 10 and rising is where the game should be. I don't know about all that, right? But yeah, like I don't think Anila needs significant power buffs, you know. So I'm just gonna keep her at essentially the same. I think she doesn't like fighting bubs very much. She's maybe okay with Ladiva. It's kind of hard. I mean, everyone hates fighting Vaseraga, but I don't think it's like particularly horrible for her, right? Zooey does not need buffs. Let me tell you. Look up Ixingus, probably EU's best Zooey. Listen, man, I think there's a lot of characters who are not great who people perform with amazingly, right? Siegfried is... Again, a lot of these, like, strong all-rounder characters didn't get touched with no fuzzies, right? Escape nerfs? I don't think so. I don't think... There's a lot... At this point in the game, there's a lot of characters that I want to get nerfed before Siegfried. Honestly, you could argue... I don't know that I'm... No, the thing is, the reason I don't think, especially like Siegfried and Belial just got nerfed, so you definitely like, even though Belial, I think you could still stand to tune him down a little bit more, I still think it's like he just got nerfed, right? He just got nerfed. So like he's not gonna get, like, he's not fucking Nier, he's not gonna get nerfed 2 back-to-back patches, right? Why is Eustace not higher? He has bad defense, so no fuzzies is a buff. It buffs everyone though, right? No fuzzies buffs everyone, and Eustace having really shit defense, you did not need to 50-50 this guy to just kill him when he gets in the corner, right? No fuzzies buffs everyone's defense universally. I don't think it buffs Eustace's particularly more than anyone else's, right? Okay, so Nier, Nier's an interesting one, man, because like I thought that Nier was gonna be substantial buffs, right? I thought I was gonna put Nier up here. Right, did she get buffed this patch? Yes, she did. So let's talk about Nier, right? So, well, okay. Nier got a bunch of good changes. And one, like, cripplingly bad nerf. And her bad matchups got buffed. It's so confusing, right? Because, you know, this Love's Redemption gauge, this actually is a nerf sometimes, a buff sometimes. Overall a buff, though. She spends less time in Deathless Nier. This is gigantic. This is a huge nerf. This is a gigantic nerf, right? Nier can throw people now. Oh my god. Oh my god, Nier can throw people. This is a gigantic nerf, right? So good for Nier. And again, spends less time in Deathless Nier, right? Spends less time in Deathless Nier, spends less time in Deathless Nier, stacking nerfs to her biggest weakness, which is stacking buffs to her biggest weakness, which is the biggest weakness that any character, the biggest single weakness that any character has in the entirety of Grand Blue is Deathless Nier. So giving her multiple buffs that make her spend less time in Deathless Nier is a really good thing, right? Nice buff to Far M, right? Not as game-breaking as the rest. I mean, it's a good button, and like going from 10 to 9 frames, that's a big deal, right? I'm not sure if that opens up conversions that didn't exist before, right? Maybe like max range counter hit 6XL or something like that, like meaty counter hit 6XL is +9, she can get Far M now, something like that, right? Nier is a character all about good buttons in the mid-screen and getting really high conversions off that mid-screen, so making her buttons even better is nice, and they did nerf a bunch of them, so a little bit of reversion is nice. Again, really big change, right? 5U getting you, it used to give you no gauge, deathless Nier gauge on block, as far as I'm aware, and now it's been matched. It gives you the same that it would on hit, and the recovery has been increased. Huge, massive buff. It's going to make you spend less time in deathless Nier, right? Similarly so here for the charge one. Similarly so here for the jumping one. Again, you can big buff. A lot of good Niers will do like double reload combos where like they end in JU into 5U. Doubly buffed how long she's going to spend in how little she's going to spend in deathless Nier, right? Big buffs, right? Some changes here as well to like using M Misfortune as a combo starter, right? A little bit better combo routes with the DP in general, right? Without Death, they nerfed her UDP a little bit, but you know, that's to get the full cinematic, basically, is what it is, right? This, I believe, is actually a buff. Yeah, she's more plus, and she gets better Oki, right? So like, you know, some nice buffs here. This one sort of inconsequential nerf, but like, here's the thing, right? Like we could talk, like it's just such a big deal. Like I know the way I'm talking about it, this is what I thought too, right? The way I'm talking about it. You would think like Nier is like the biggest winner of the patch, but like, dude, for reference, this used to go M Ominous Turn is how far this used to go. Look at that. It's like halved. Like Death is big, so you might not notice, but like look at where the end of Death is. Look at where like her skirt is, right? The end of where her skirt is flowing, or the end of where that aura is basically touching Nier, right? That aura is basically touching Nier versus if we throw her on M. Look at that. It's like a whole Death. Death is a very big model, right? It's bigger than Vaseraga. Death is a very big, wide model, and this goes a whole Death less far. This was Nier's best move, in my opinion. Nier is about neutral control. Nier is about having, like, you know, the best mid-screen in the game, damn near, besides, like, Blade Level 5 Lucy and shit like that. Really good buttons to hold you down, and really good buttons to, like, once she hits you with those, get confirmation. Her biggest, best mid-range tool was this thing, right? And now, it's still, if it hits you, it goes its full distance. But, like, this shit used to hit from, like, I mean, where M would hit from, like, over here, probably, right? Look at that. Like, this shit used to hit from, like, 75% of the screen. This was Nier's best tool. For her biggest strength, the best part of that strength got kind of destroyed, right? The way it was described to me by Nier players, overall buffs to her worst matchups, massive nerf to her good matchups, right? But then here's the other thing too, right? Here's the other thing is that not only so like this is a huge nerf. The install buff is also kind of nice, by the way. This is a huge nerf. This is a gigantic nerf. These are all very good buffs, right? So like. Overall, looking at just this, Nier is certainly better, right? I would say even with this being as big a nerf as it is, I would personally say Nier is still like moderately to like pretty noticeably better even with this. However, think back to undisputed top 1 Nier. Think back to when Nier was the best character in the game by a mile, right? Think back to when Nier was literally dog walking the entire roster. Even back then, right? Even back then, there were 2 characters who were not very good back then. Not very good at all back then. They were, you know, we're talking like, if we're talking about like 1.1 Rising and stuff like that, these were bottom 5, bottom 3 contender characters, right? But even back then, there were 2 characters that went by the names of Vaseraga and Ladiva, who gave Nier a disproportionately large amount of trouble for just how much ungodly stronger she was than them. Right? You could genuinely argue that the Nier Ladiva matchup was even like on fucking release, right? I also heard Ferry, yeah. You could argue, like, now I think it was still Nier was so much better than Ladiva that I think it was still like slight advantage Nier, but like, what the fuck are we talking about? Similarly, Vaseraga gave Nier a lot of trouble back in the day. Now she would still beat his ass, but like relative to Vas being like a bottom 5, bottom 10 character on release, and Nier being undisputed top 1, so good we've never seen a character like her before or since, right? They held their own decently well. Now here's the problem, right? Here's the problem is Nier has since tumbled 30 spots on the tier list, and 2 of her, in my opinion, worst matchups have gotten significantly better, especially this motherfucker, right? And me personally, as well, one of the hardest things to deal with as Ladiva or Vaseraga in that Nier matchup was this fucking thing, right? I think that this being nerfed hurts a lot in the big body matchup as well, right? Now, she still has tools. She still has, like, better, you know, she can still, like, do things like far Hing and stuff like that. But, like, I think the nerf hits her pretty hard in both of these matchups. And again, you could argue that, you know, he's like, this sort of cancels out a lot of the buffs. He's only a little better. And a lot of her, like, her two worst matchups maybe, or close to it, got significantly better, right? So, I don't even really know what to say for Nier. Like, I want to say minor buffs overall still, right? I want to say it's crazy to see just how many things got better on Nier. Like again, right? Big buff. Gigantic, absurd, insane buff. Nice buff. Gigantic, absurd, insane buff. Gigantic, absurd, insane buff. Gigantic, absurd, insane buff. Right? And yet, she's like a little better. She's a little better, right? Because just huge compensation nerf and like some of her worst matchups becoming some of the best characters in the game. I thought when I first made, like, I was like, let's for fun, like, just make a tier list immediately after reading the patch notes. I moved Nier up like a tier and a half. I thought she got buffed as much as Vane did. She didn't. I think the main thing that changes now is that I think Vikala is probably worse than Nier, for sure. Whereas last patch I would have told you that I think Nier was worse than Vikala. So I think, you know, congratulations, Nier, you are bottom 2. She gets there. I mean, Grimnir is so weird, right? Because technically it is this. It is this, okay? I know. It's literally this, okay? He did get minor, not buffs, sorry. He did get minor nerfs. He lost his fuzzy. Now, Grimnir doesn't really need it. He doesn't really care, right? He used his, like, the little UCO trap into the 50-50 a lot of the times. But, like, there were situations where Grimnir would rather use the fuzzy, you know, it worked better in the mid-screen. You know, like, I think it was a more damaging thing if they had lower brave points, right? Like, there were situations where it mattered, right? You know, like, he's a little bit worse. He's like, I want to put him at, like, the bottom of minor nerfs, because he's a little teeny bit worse. It's true. Grimnir, I think, he's a little worse. Grimnir sold his camera Urki, and versus 99% of people. Did I say Urki? It was like I was Australian. Versus 99% of people, they're gonna have the reaction down for it. Yeah, but, like, he is literally, technically, a little bit worse. He's a little bit worse. Escape nerfs. Now, you could very much argue that he deserved to get nerfed more, for sure, right? You could argue he deserves to get nerfed for sure, right? The universal change changed for everyone, true, but like Zeta, him and Zeta had basically the two best fuzzies in the video game, right? So like losing it is a bigger deal. Like they lost a stronger tool than most of the cast had, but like he doesn't. Listen, technically he got a little nerfed, but I think for Grimnir being potentially like a best character in the game, right? You know what? No, I'm gonna say Grimnir got minor nerfs. You can't bully me. Grimnir, he still got fuzzy. Let me tell you, well, isn't it? He has he's got the camera Oki. I had never heard it called that, but I do like that. He's got camera Oki. He can souls camera you. He got a little worse. Okay, he received very minor nerfs. That's not a fuzzy. Yeah. It's not. It's a 50-50. It's functionally it performs the same purpose, right? But to my understanding, it doesn't work in the mid screen, and also again, he's worse. Okay, is he still like genuinely potentially the best character in the game? Sure, but he is worse. Okay, he is nerfed. He is nerfed. So I'm gonna put him there because he is technically minorly nerfed. Okay. He's the same. Probably. He's about the same. I think he's probably about the same. I mean, I don't think he loves fighting boss very much. That's not horrible. I mean, he's about the same, right? If boss gets him in the corner, he's going to impregnate him. But like, Same or like minor. Same. She doesn't like fighting Vaseraga very much. Same. About the same. Nothing major, right? Vane, I think, goes in substantial buffs. Certainly, this character. I mean, we're talking a character that was most people's accepted bottom 1, right? We can talk about what changed with Vane. He's also one of these ones that's named directly in the patch notes, right? First off, 5U is a real move now. 5U's real. It has armor until the attack ends. Big deal. It went from literally a joke move to one of the better 5Us in the entire game, and Vane has real defense now. Congratulations. Vane definitely in big nerfs. Excuse me. Say what now? The shield is about the same, right? Shield's a little better, technically. Like, shield's a little bigger, right? It's a little bigger. it blocks jump-ins in particular a little better, right? But shield is this feels to me, fighting Vane and looking at Vane and everything, this is like a quality of life buff to shield. It's not like shield is suddenly some sort of godlike thing or something like that. And then another big thing actually that I didn't immediately notice when I was reading the patch notes, but that does matter, right, is Vane's damage went up in this patch. Vane's mid-screen got like noticeably better, right? Vane's like like the fact that he gets auto combo off of this now, right? That's kind of a big deal, man, right? Like he didn't get that before, right? Vane actually has like some of the higher just like resourceless damage that in the video game now, right? And I don't believe he could do this last patch. So I mean that's kind of like 5k like that. That's kind of a big deal, right? And yes, I mean if he wants to spend some U skills as well, he can start getting some really good corner carry as well, right? I don't know exactly what it is that he gets off this. Is it like, I forget. Does he do this first? He does this first into this and then auto combo? No, something like that. But yeah, he has do auto combo into 2-2U, into auto combo into 6-2-3H, into 2-2U. You can get auto combo after this? Are you sure? How plus are you on when this hits? Let me not counter hit. They used to do 6-2-3H into close M auto combo last patch required micro lock. Oh, I see. 6XL? Oh, right, yeah, it's plus 10. Gotcha. So he gets this. Oh, hold on, I'm bad. 2-frame link, too hard for the old man. Wait. Wait, let me make him crouch just because I'm a little baby and this is too hard for me. I still can't get it. 3-frame link, too difficult. There you go. 2, 3. So you did, and then this, and then what? Is it auto combo from there into what now? Into like wild beat or something, like that. Even that's still that might not even be auto combo to wild beat. Yeah, I mean, that's still pretty good, right? That is full screen right there. So his mid screen like this does. I mean, maybe it just makes the execution on it lower, right? This maybe just makes like maybe he could have done this last patch, but it still just makes it like completely brain dead now, right? You just do it and then you do auto combo. No micro walks, no nothing. There's no execution to it. So his mid screen got better. His defense got better. Shield got a little better. His fundamental gimmick is a little bit better, right? These energy destructions I think they do more damage. You know, so it's a little bit nice. So. I mean, Vane is just kind of... Oh, and also the wild beats, I think this is a little bit more consistent on... It's more punishable, but it's also more consistent to convert combos off of, which I think overall he probably does like that, right? I don't know how often this JU counter hit is going to matter, but, you know, it's something. So, yeah, like, Vane's just a lot better now. Vane, I've mentioned him kind of offhand as we've been going through this. He's not, like, as important or as good as some of these other, like, more patch-defining characters as it stands, right? But, like, Vane was a straight-up bottom 1 contender. In fact, if you asked most people last patch who they thought was bottom 1, most people would probably tell you Vane. And, I mean, the biggest thing to me, personally, is Breakthrough. Him having, like, an actual real defensive option that you have to respect now. This is just better Soriz 5U, basically. They gave him a version of Soriz 5U that is a little easier to whiff punish and like, higher reward, right? So like, he should be in biggest winners because he's now an actual character. I think he's a lot better. I'm gonna put him in substantial buffs. I think, right? Gimmicky, but he's unkillable with 5U. Yeah. I didn't realize that Vane could link close L to U like that. Yeah. And then okay, so Beatrix. The more I think about this, right? I need like I just realized I don't have like a substantial nerfs. I don't have like, and Beatrix is still very good, right? Beatrix is still very good. But like, the more I think about it, the more I think that Beatrix probably, of all the characters that they nerfed besides Zeta, Beatrix probably is the one that got hit the hardest, in my opinion, right? I just realized, yeah, I did not have because no one really goes in here besides her. I think Beatrix is like minor nerfs. I think Beatrix, like, yeah, Beatrix is still good, but I think genuinely, she's still good, but she feels those nerfs. Yes. There's a very big difference. Like, I don't want to. People are very knee jerk when you say things, right? When I say that I think Beatrix got nerfed like significantly, I don't mean she's bad now. I think Beatrix is still like, you know, very, very strong. If like borderline, like sort of lower end the top tier, or like borderline top tier, something like that, right? But I do think that she gets hit quite a lot. Actually, I think she gets hit quite hard by a couple of things, right? Well, what color should I make for this? Like a yellow? Yeah, I guess it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because it's going in reverse order, but it still works, right? So like, she's very good still. However, a couple of things they changed about her matter a lot more than I thought, right? Yeah, the big one, right? The big one is this. This launching, dude, her damage is a lot lower now. Even on like her BMBs, things like that. She still does fine damage, but like, ooh, and I was like, especially, this is not really, you know, the thing, but like when we were looking at characters' optimals and who like who could TOD Gran and stuff like that, her damage, she used to have one. She used to have an easy one. She's not even that close anymore, right? She goes down a lot. Her like higher damage combos, her cash outs are significantly worse with this. She used to have like double fireball combos with clock and shit like that. So her damage goes down quite a bit through this. And I mean, unironically, by the way, this might just be a nerf if you're fighting people who are bad, but like, it's the same nerf Sieg got a while back, right? Yes, but Sieg also got made significantly better for pressure, right? You might remember in the same patch where they killed his fireball in terms of a neutral tool, they also made it like 14 frames more plus on block or something. So this, unironically, is probably only, like, it's only a nerf against, like, dumbasses like me. But, like, dude, I've seen this happen even in, like, tournament sets, right? Where people, like, are blocking riding free and they accidentally stand up midway through and then they die, right? This, like, it's not, I'm not gonna, like, stand on business, say, like, this is a gigantic nerf. But, like, unironically, this just, like, it takes a little bit of bullshit factor. A little bit of bullshit factor away from the character that didn't happen, right? Beatrix deserved every nerf she got, and she still deserves more. Listen, Vira, I'm not, yeah, I still think she's very good, but I do think we can at least acknowledge that she did, like, genuinely get nerfed, right? She's not, like, she's the only, because, I mean, we'll talk about Versusia in a second, of the characters they, like, targeted nerfed, she's the only one who I think actually feels it significantly, right? The riding free mid thing literally does not matter 99% of the time. No, I agree. But I'm saying, like, this is, I want to start with this to say, like, maybe it's just because I'm fucking stupid, but I've seen good players fuck this up too. This matters a little bit. It's just, it's a little bit of bullshit away from the character. It's a little bit of frustration away from the character. But yes, this is big. This is big, by the way, especially into motherfuckers like this, right? Into these characters too. This guy as well, I believe. Characters without a 6-frame close M, right? Characters who used to get far L on Beatrix now get straight up auto combo on her ass. This makes it significantly higher risk. A character like Gran, you know, like he goes from close M to close H. That's a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal. A lot of the cast who only got far L on Beatrix, proximity range is bigger on mediums and heavies than it is on lights. So a lot of the cast used to only get far L into U skill or far L into sometimes nothing. Far L into like 1 EX special into, you know, go home when they blocked H riding free. Now the entire cast, basically, no matter who you are, gets a full-ass auto combo on Beatrix when they block riding free, which, like, triples the damage that some characters are going to do to this, right? So this, in general, makes this a significantly higher risk move, right? So H riding free, one of the best things about her, getting worse. Now, they did buff her command grab, right? Right? They did buff her command grab. She gets better Oki afterwards. So she did get a compensation buff, which is kind of funny, considering how good she is. But, like, I still think that overall, this fireball change, really big. This riding free change, really big. And a lot of the other stuff, you know, Thunderbird, they buffed, I think, L and... No, they nerfed L, they buffed M, right? So it's also, L riding free no longer gets you combos on counter hits, but M gets you, like, way better ones. So that's also, I would overall call this a bit of a nerf, too. Riding free overall gets a little worse. She can get, like, light DP after you riding free, or something like that, right? Yeah, the L riding free counter hit thing, yeah, I just mentioned that as well. So, like, Beatrix, she's worse, man. Now, still good, right? Still good, and even with the 5U buff, like, still good. But I do think of the 2 top tiers that they tried to hit, Beatrix is the only one that actually got hit, I think. She's the only one that is, like, noticeably worse than she was last patch. Still good. Not like a... I mean, Beatrix is like a top 3, top 5 contender last patch. I'm not so sure that I think so anymore. Speaking of the devil, Versusia is the top tier they tried to nerf, who they didn't, basically. Versusia is technically a little weaker, I will say, right? Versusia is weaker. Versusia, I think, is a little weaker. But, like, it's... I mean, honestly, like, we can just say escape nerfs, right? We can just... And I guess I'm gonna do that. I should do this too. Fine. Yeah. I'll be consistent. If I'm gonna do that, I should do this too. Because Versusia got a little weaker. I think Grimnir got a little bit more nerfed than Versusia, honestly, though. No, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I think they genuinely, even though they both are still amazing, I think Grimnir genuinely feels this patch more than Versusia does. For real, right? So what changed with Versusia? A lot of things, actually. There's buffs and nerfs and side grades and things like that. So her dash block, a lot worse. This is way more committal than it used to be. She has to wait 26 frames after hitting the dash button to dash block, right? They took Grimm's Fuzzy. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need it as much, but it's true. It does matter. It does matter, right? I would not say the Grimnir escaped nerfs. I'd say he's a little worse than he is and still very good, right? So yeah, like, this is not nothing, right? In and of itself. This is a big nerf that they gave her, right? This is big. This is big, right? This is like, maybe, is this the biggest nerf that she got? Something like that. Maybe that or the 5U. But this being a light clash level, finally, right? This being light clash level and also having its hitbox shortened, big deal, right? Big deal. This actually is a slight buff to her 2M, but not that meaningful, right? Her instant 6XL, I think, got better. Yeah, instant 6XL got better, which is actually another small buff to her. Reduced from frame 24 onwards, doesn't matter as much, right? Her instant 6XL being a little better is actually very good, because this was one of basically the only weaknesses that Versusia had, even before the patch, right? And then also her other dash normals, they slide now. She has roller skates. I can show you, but it looks very, very funny when she does this, right? She, like, her 6XH, that shit is actually fucking, this isn't that meaningful, I don't think, because, like, these aren't her best, these aren't great dash moves. Like, if you do it right away, right, she kind of, like, goes like that. But if you wait a little bit, you see how that she has, like, that huge forward momentum? Like, she actually fucking, yeah, she, like, roller skates all the way to the end of the screen. It's, like, funny. I don't think it matters that much. These are technically buffs, but, like, yeah, right? JM gives her some new combo routes, which is a big deal because some of her old ones are not really there anymore. So, like, this is more so a compensation buff in exchange of a nerf, right? I believe similar thing for this as well, right? So 5U launches, right? Versusia's corner carry actually is the same, if not better, in this patch. But what this does, this is also another big nerf to Versusia, right? What this does is that her damage, when she's gonna take you corner to corner, her damage is, like, at best 2k lower. Sometimes in some situations, like 3k lower, 3.5k lower, right? Like, if she's just doing fucking, what's it? Like, if she's just doing something I've seen a lot these days, if I remember how to do it, is like, I don't know, like this into, I believe, is it this? Can you not do the, oh, no. What am I thinking of where it's, oh no, I think it's like this, right? Into the H, the H lariat, I think. You do, like, bonk, into JM, into H lariat, is that correct? Like that? Maybe I'm not delaying properly or something, but yeah, like that, right? It's like, that's like completely resourceless like that. That's even better corner carry than she had, like, last patch, right? She basically could not do this as easily, at least, without some meter, I think, last patch. But we're also talking 4,000 damage, right? This is, where, like, genuinely, 2,500 less damage than, like, some of her other, corner-to-corner carry combos last game, right? Now, usually they cost more resource, but again, she doesn't really have access to that incredibly high damage while also full-screen carrying you anymore, right? So overall, I would still consider this a pretty big nerf. I mean, this is obviously just a huge nerf as well. It's like almost, it's one of those things that felt so wrong that almost you just kind of forget that it even got nerfed, that it wasn't always like this. This thing used to be +4 on block. For some reason, I don't know why, but it did. This used to be +4. Like, this is one of the nerfs that I think people just forget about, because, like, the idea that this was ever plus on block just feels wrong, right? This is a big deal. All of it. Like, Versusia just had, like, if she had stock, if she got in with stock, her pressure just went for so long, because having this as a, like, you know, a way to extend her pressure, let her cycle cooldowns and things like this, and she has a lot of interesting things she can do if she's got those cooldowns, both in combos and in pressure. So, like, this is also a very big deal, right? This is a very, very big deal for this being minus on block now, right? Now, this is the weird thing, right? M pillar got buffed, H pillar got nerfed, right? H pillar doesn't go full screen anymore. It goes about that far, like a little bit more than like a backdash away from round start, I think. Yeah, like it's not tracking anymore, but M pillar goes full screen now, right? So here's the thing. I've heard some people calling this a buff to Versusia. I disagree. I think it is a buff against zoners. I think against characters like Metera, characters like Ferry, stuff like that, I think it is genuinely better for her to have this now because it's not a cooldown. She's going to spam this over and over because H-Pillar used to be her full screen one. M-Pillar wouldn't track that well and it was really slow, right? They made M-Pillar 25 frames instead of 29 and it goes full screen now. It tracks full screen, right? So this is certainly nice. They buffed M-Pillar a lot. However, they did take H-Pillar away, which was maybe, like, I mean, at least out at this range, this is her best move last patch, right? It was 18 frames, it was unreactable, it was a gun to the head of everyone who was trying to play any sort of mid-range with, or even, like, zoning with Versusia, right? But, once she spent it, it was on cooldown, and then, like, there was a big difference of a Versusia that has the cooldown and a Versusia that does not, okay? Overall, in this patch, I think that in zoning matchups, she's buffed. In every other matchup, this is a nerf, right? In every other matchup besides like Metera or Ferry or like someone who's trying to zone her, you know, maybe like Uno might do that or something like that, she's buffed. And those are meta-relevant characters, certainly. But this is not... I've seen people using this and the combination of Emanitia as well. Emanitia actually is a full-screen projectile now, right? So I've seen people saying that like this and this is like a competent zoning tool, like toolkit for Versusia in this patch. It just isn't, right? This is 25 frames and there's no mental stack from out here. People are reacting to this, people are spot dodging this, people are rolling this, and you can't even catch roll with this fucking thing from the ranges where M-Pillar matters, aka like here to here, right? Because once you're closer than here, it's H-Pillar again. H-Pillar is just better, right? But like from the ranges where M-Pillar matters, this is not catching people's rolls, right? You have to, like, the timing you have to do it at means that if they pillar and they roll the, you do this, they roll it, and then you pillar them, it doesn't catch the roll, right? So like this is not, she's not a zoner suddenly, right? Like this is not a thing. This is only good if you're going to catch people who are committing to long recovery moves at full screen. Vaseraga, actually. This could be a nice way for her to check Vaseraga Soulforge, right? But like, in general, you're talking about people like Metera, people like Ferry, stuff like this, right? Galleon, this is good against Galleon as well, right? But against the vast majority of the roster, she would rather have H-Pillar. M-Pillar does not stand where H-Pillar stood, and this is overall a nerf. Not that big, though. This is a really big compensation buff, right? Samsara got buffed to give her new combo routes out of her 5U. Again, think of all of this stuff as sort of like compensation buffs for this, right? And then Emanitia is better. It was worthless before. It is now like a bad fireball, basically, so I'll take it. H-Anitia got nerfed, which is also, I think, a big deal, right? H-Anitia, similarly, this thing stayed on screen for a whole second, right? This was like a really good way for her to just like hold space and just 5U behind it, right? Because you might notice this is 5U is 41 frames, the animation to get it. So if that thing is staying on screen for basically 40 frames after you launch it, then like Versusia just gets to do this, stand behind it, and 5U. Not the case anymore, right? She has to spend U now if she wants to do that, because this one still stays on screen for an ungodly amount of time. And then, you know, okay, no. The more I read these, I do forget about a lot of the changes that got done to Versusia. She had the best projectile invul in SBA in the entire game, too, in Yomotsu there, right? Like, this fucking thing this is the best projectile invul super in the entire game, full cinematic from anywhere, tons of projectile invul, and if you, like, dared to do anything against Versusia from full screen that was a fireball, or even adjacent, or looked like a fireball, or smelled like a fireball, you were taking 4K and losing it, right? So, like, honestly, I convinced myself a little bit. Now, Versusia is still very, very good. Very, very good, right? But I convinced myself a little bit, while, like, she did get a bunch of compensation buffs. I think overall, this is basically a nerf with no real compensation buff. This is a nerf with no real compensation buff, right? This is still a nerf that got some compensation buffs. This is a nerf that got some compensation buffs. So, like, giving a character this strong compensation buffs at all is a little funny. But, and this is, you know, this is a nerf with no compensation buff. This is a nerf. That's the compensation buff for it, right? So, like, she's a little weaker. She's a little weaker, actually. She is slightly worse. Still, you know, she maybe got nerfed from, like, you know, top 2 to top 3 or something like that, but she is slightly worse, right? Versusia got nerfed very, 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 not all those varies. She is worse, right? She's just very good still. And she definitely did not get hit as hard as Beatrix, I would say. I feel like the goal of Versusia was to rework her rather than straight up nerfs. Doesn't feel like right to say she escaped anything. I mean, you probably could argue that both of them should have gotten nerfed a little harder, right? But yeah, Versusia is worse now, certainly, right? I kind of forgot. There are so many, like, things like that Celestial Dominion nerf, things like the super nerf. They're just like, it was so wrong that they ever existed that, like, you forget that they didn't used to always be like this, right? the more I read through it, she is certainly a little bit worse, but she's still very good, right? Sam Lafon is the same. He got some quality of life buffs, right? He's basically exactly the same as it stands. Sandy didn't move. Yeah, if you're not sure what they did to Sandy, this is a bug. Like they call it a bug fix, but like this is basically it's a little bit easier to pick the element that you want to go into after you do Zohar Strike or on 5U, right? So it's quality of life, but he didn't get better or worse or anything like that, right? GBX, by the way, thank you very much for the raid. Hello. You guys just caught us at the tail end here of talking about the patch and how it might have affected some characters. Now, of course, again, most characters are not named in this patch directly, right? But it is still the case that the characters that did change are very important. Like they shift the meta quite a bit, and there were also characters that have very polarizing matchups. So if you did better against them, then you're happy. If you did worse against them, then you're very sad, right? Hello, Milanisa. Hello. But yeah, so that I think this look about right now. Looking at it again. Honestly, Metera and substantial buffs might be a little bit too much. She might just be like, minor. Because, like, it's basically the same thing as Ferry. When I look at this now. Like, why, I understand. You could argue that also you Butterfly should have gotten nerfs, but, yeah, I think that's, like, putting her next to Vane seems wrong, right? Because I think Vane jumped up like a tier and a half. I don't think Metera quite did that, right? She doesn't have that kind of room to grow, I don't think. So yeah, I'll put her in minor buffs. You could also put her here if you think it's more important that you Butterfly didn't change, right? If you think that's more important than like some of her better matchups becoming more meta relevant, then fair enough. But yeah, I think I'll put her here for now. Otherwise, I think this looks good. Galleon obviously is this Galleon. Zeta, it's very funny to me, but I think even Beatrix is the second biggest for sure. But like Zeta is just like unequivocally the biggest loser of this patch, right? Like I don't even really see the 214H nerf is larger than all of her buffs were. I don't know. I still think she got slightly better, Hakure. It's a very valid take though, right? Like certainly the 214H nerf is gigantic, right? But like maybe I see like things that make her spend less time in Deathless Nier, and I just start. It's all over the screen, You Butterfly needs to get God, but I agree with minor buff. Yeah. She can't play neutral anymore. Okay. You know that's not true, right? Like you understand that you're exaggerating there, right? It's a big hit to her neutral, certain, but like you understand that what you're saying there is incorrect, right? I don't think I have to. You're a smart guy. But it is a huge compensation nerf, which is why the thing is the buffs are gigantic, right? So for it to be minor buffs like that, it is a really really huge compensation nerf. I do think Nier is slightly better overall, but like emphasis on slightly. I thought Nier was bottom 1 last patch. I think she still has a very solid argument to be bottom 1 this patch. She's not forgotten, certainly. They did touch her, but I don't really know what they did or what they thought they were doing. I've played multiple Niers this patch and the character feels so bad. She was bottom 1 last patch, Hakure, right? I played multiple Niers last patch and she was awful there too, right? Like, she was awful last patch too, man. Do you forget that Nier couldn't fucking throw you last patch? If Nier threw you last patch, the only thing she was throwing was the fucking round. Like, do you not like if Nier threw you and you teched it, which you're going to do 90% of the time because it's Gran Blue, she lost, right? Like if Nier tried to throw someone last patch, it sometimes made her just lose the round straight up. Right? Like we're aware of this. At least last patch I had to care about my spacing against 214H. At least last patch at least you didn't have to worry about her fucking throwing you. She did not have strike. You could look at this and say, this patch, like this line of the, here could say, Nier now has strike throw. Nier has been given strike throw, right? I agree, Ominous Turn is a huge nerf. You're not gonna see me, like, at all. I was talking for like 3 minutes about how bad this is for her, right? But like, this alone, right? She Frank still uses if you block her, but yeah, grabbing matters so much. I mean, he's a character with no mix who couldn't throw you before. He's a character with no mix, with no Raging Strike to even reaction check you to open her up, right? No mix, no Raging Strike, who couldn't throw you. She had nothing. Now, she could kind of do the thing where she stood out in the Gran Blue zone and swung at you, right? She has good buttons, but like, even then, God forbid you ever fucking Brave counter hit, she lost, right? So, I think this is a huge nerf. No, I agree, Hakure. I agree 100%. It's a huge nerf. And I think that me putting her here is me agreeing it's a huge nerf. Because she got like 5 gigantic buffs. But Ominous Turn is so bad that she's basically the same. Slightly better. Slightly teeny tiny better. Which is insane considering how big of a nerf, or how big of a buff this is. How big of a buff this is, right? This used to give you nothing on block at all. And now gives you, like, more than on hits used to give you, right? But yeah, so I think this looks about right to me. I think this looks about right. Nier feels easier to play people who are learning her and is generally better, but some of her strengths got nerfed, so I'm not sure if they should have gotten nerfs. I don't think we needed to nerf Ominous Turn, right? I don't think if you don't nerf Ominous Turn, I don't think Nier, like... I don't think Nier is, like, running the game again. But it's very clear that, like, they're still, even a year on from the Versusia patch, right? The Versusia patch at this point, it was mid-August, fellas, or late August, right? So even 11 months on from the Versusia patch, they are still being very, very, very careful with Nier. I don't know if we're ever... I don't know how much more dev support this game has in it, man. Like, by the end of next year, are they going to feel comfortable making Nier a mid-tier again? I don't know. No, yeah, don't get me wrong. I completely understand why they're being so careful with Nier, because she is the biggest balance fumble I've ever seen in, like, I don't know, like the past fucking 10 years of fighting games, something like that. So, like, I get it. I do. I really do get it. But, like, it's clear that they are still being incredibly, incredibly cautious with her, right? But yeah, see, this is... Overall, I would say that, clearly, like, obviously the people most affected by this patch are the ones who are literally named, right? But again, I do think that one of the reasons that I wanted to make this is I think this patch affects your character, even if you don't play Ladiva or Voss or Bubs or Nier or Vane or Beatrix or Versusia, or Zeta, I guess. I do think this character does, like, or sorry, this patch does affect your character more than you probably think it does. Because these three in particular, this guy too, are very polarizing characters, right? There's a good chance that you either really love the fact that they're more common in the meta right now, or you really, really, really hate the fact that they're more common in the meta right now. Right? So a lot of characters are, like, basically affected by their matchup charts getting slightly better or worse, and you can notice a tilt here for sure, right? Like, zoner type characters, defensive type mid-range characters, right? And then a lot of your rushdown characters probably don't like this patch as much, right? Interesting stuff. But yeah, let's talk about rank, because I want to talk about this little visual, this graphic that Avaris put up for us.